guys, it's the FOF with the FOF Guide once again. We're in episode number 6. That's right, 6. I can't believe it. We've been going for a little while here, and I got a really good interview for you. I interviewed Nick Inglis, who was on one of my other interviews actually, and basically he talks about how he came about getting a master's and doing his PhD and stuff like that. He also talks about how you can skip part of your master's to do your PhD. So I think it's very interesting. So I really recommend watching this one. It's very interesting and very valid for students just graduating like me, or graduated like me, who just came out of getting a bachelor's and wondering what to do. So have yourself a good day, guys, and enjoy the interview. Hey Nicholas, thanks for coming out again, buddy. I appreciate that. So, I just got my bachelor's, right? And
congratulations,
yeah,
by the way.
And I got a B+ average or whatnot, and get a little bit of experience in learning how to run in a lab and stuff like that, and do lab stuff and all that. So, I got a question. How the heck does somebody get a master's? Like, just getting into school. Like, how does it work exactly?
Well, I can only talk about how it is in science, because that's what I did.
Okay, well, I'm pretty sure there'd be somebody interested in
So
that.
for science, if the student has a good enough GPA, but it doesn't have to be an extraordinarily good GPA, The straight A students can go into med school, and that's really designed for them.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'd say with, a C+B average, you can get into graduate school pretty well in the sciences. It might be a little bit more competitive in psychology.
Mm-hmm.
But the basic idea underlying it is that you should find out who will work best with you, because what you'll be doing a lot in your graduate school is doing professional research with a supervisor, a research supervisor.
Like a lab supervisor or something like that, running
yeah,
a lab?
So a faculty member at one of the big universities, SFU,
awesome.
UBC,
Great.
But sometimes these things can go pretty wrong.
Like, what do you mean? What kind of pitfalls do you run into?
The big one is pairing yourself up with the wrong supervisor.
Yeah.
So some supervisors, I can speak for my sister's case, for example. So she has a master's degree in history.
Mm-hmm.
And so her supervisor actually decided to sit on her master's thesis for 2 years. So instead of helping her defend, he chose to have a sort of, I guess you could say, cheap labor for long periods of time, rather than actually help her advance to the next degree.
Oh, okay.
Now that happens more than you think it would. So this actually is a pretty common occurrence where you can end up really with a bad supervisor, and that can take 1, 2, 3 years longer than your
Okay, so basically,
degree.
don't accept who they're going to send you. Go, hey, listen, I want to talk with you.
Yeah.
I'm going to see how you are, and go for a drink. Like, you need just a Coke
maybe,
or something
maybe
like
not
that.
go for a drink,
A
but
Coke or something like that, or your coffee or
Sure.
something like that, and say, hey, how's it going? What would you do if you did this and that? You know what I mean? So,
you could do that. I certainly would also suggest talking to someone that has recently finished in that group of researchers.
Okay.
So maybe there was a postdoc who worked in that research facility
Absolutely.
with that supervisor, and that postdoc, once that postdoc is done, he or she is going to be able to be honest with you. And so if they thought that the prof was really bad,
They got their stuff done, so they don't have to worry about
they don't need to
upsetting
worry
them.
about it
I
anymore.
gotcha.
And they're going to be honest. Someone that's still in that lab or in that research group is still obligated to protect that professor.
Yeah.
So once someone has left there, though, then they're free to be able to answer you honestly. And I think that's really important, to get someone that's willing to tell you the honest truth. The prof is always going to tell you that they're great. Their PhD and master's students are going to tell you that the prof is great because they're still responsible.
They don't want to bite.
They're not going to get in trouble. Exactly
They
right.
don't want to bite the hand that feeds you. Kind of deal.
Exactly right.
I gotcha. That makes sense. Okay.
So try to get someone that has left recently. And indeed, if my sister had actually gone through with that, then she would have found out that this was a regular occurrence with this particular supervisor, and that people would keep going.
Is there like a rateprofessors.com on that, or
No.
your PhD doctorate master's supervisor or something?
There should be, but no, unfortunately there isn't. So anyways, that's something that I would highly recommend to people, is to just do some
research on the
research.
person.
Some of it is very easy. You just go to that prof's website
Mhm.
and see what they're researching. And if that doesn't work with what you're looking for, don't waste your time with that particular lab.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right? You should go, honestly, I can tell you as someone that has done graduate studies myself. I've done a PhD. Unless you love the research material that you're doing, it's going to be a colossal waste of your time. You've got to find something that you're passionate about, because you're going to be doing this for like 3, 4, 5, 6 years of your life. So you darn well better like it.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
That makes lots of sense. That makes lots of sense. So, what do you just apply? Do you just write them a letter, or I mean, because honestly, because a lot of my viewers probably don't know, and I don't even know how to really do it. And
Yeah. So again, this depends on what field you're going into. But in my field, biology, you can really just email the professor and say, "Hey, I'm really interested in what you're doing. Do you want to do an interview with me?" And then, if they like you, it doesn't really matter what your grades were. They can actually let you in.
yeah, that's cool. That's interesting. I like that idea. But at the same time, they'll probably like, of course, if you want to get your master's, it's always a good idea to have research under your belt. Like at Kwantlen, they have this program where it's the honors program where you have to have a B+ average, and you have to get like a B+ in upper level stats. And then what you have to do is you also have to have some research under your belt. So basically, from what and I'm not sure if I'm wrong about this or right about this. Pretty sure I'm right about this, but they'd rather you have lower grades and lots of experience in a lab rather than higher grades and no experience in the lab.
Yeah, I think some lab experience helps. Certainly, if you have the A+ average, it doesn't really matter if people will let you in anyway. So yeah, I certainly getting that background is going to help, and you show some enthusiasm in the field that the person is doing their research on, and they're going to be enthusiastic about you.
Excellent.
As well. These honors programs are great. That historically, an honors program, so if you get a Bachelor of Science or a Bachelor's of Arts in a particular field, you can have this honors elective, which goes on to your degree.
Mm-hmm.
And that was historically designed for people that are planning on going on to do their master's and their PhD.
Mm-hmm.
So certainly, the quickest, probably most effective way to get into a graduate program is to do one of those honors degrees.
Which I'm doing. I'm actually working with one of the teachers right now. He's put a stop to it for a little bit because we're trying to get into a transaction stage where we can actually go start doing more stuff and stuff like that. He's trying to figure out some stuff, but he's a really good guy. But I'm really interested in what they're interested in, what they're doing, and that's kind of, yeah, that's important for me for sure. And hope to get some more background in lab stuff and all that stuff. Right now I've just been crunching numbers, saying, oh, he said 5, he said 4, and all that for all this and all that. So
that's how you start.
I know it's not more exciting. It's not that exciting, but you know what? I'm okay with that.
That's how you started. The way I got started in research was I just went, and nobody would understand this anymore, but I used to go to the library and they'd give me a list of journal articles to go fetch from the stacks in the library. And then I'd photocopy them and bring them back, and then he would circle the ones that he wanted the next references printed off for. So that's what I do. Nobody actually goes to the library to print off references anymore because they're all electronic now, but something like that, it doesn't have to be the most exciting avenue. You just need to get your hands dirty. A lot of people in my field just do that by cleaning glasses. They clean dishware and scrub it really hard so it's nice and clean for the organisms, and then that's how they got their into the lab.
There was an autoclave of sort. Not that I should be going off topic, but
yeah, we have autoclaves, but there's certain things that just get washed, and there needs to be usually undergraduate students that
they'll do
fill
that dirty
role,
work,
and they'll do it for free.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
That's good. That's golden right there.
It's also a good way to get used to people, and you can work in a lab and see if the atmosphere is conducive to something that you would want
exactly.
to
do. No, I hear what you mean, and you could potentially, if you want to become the lab manager or something like that, and not manager, but the person who handles all the emails and incoming mail and stuff like that, and you move your way up to become like, okay, I want you to do this, I want you to do that, report back to him and see what's going on.
Sure.
So I think that's what one of the girls in my lab is. She's the lab manager, or not lab manager, but you know what I mean. She's
just the organizational
head.
head.
She's the organizational head to take care of the people who are just new to the group and stuff like that, and don't know what they're doing and stuff like that. And I think there's a lot of bit of a professionalism with that. Is that you got to make sure that you're not late for meetings and stuff like that, and make sure that you stick to what you said, and make sure that if they're looking for something to do, that you email them immediately back. And I got a lot of respect for people who do that, right? So that's a very important thing, right? I think it's essential just to get those emails back, right? I mean, so I know that from what I understand in psychology, this girl was going to go to SFU or something like that in psychology, and she had to write an IQ test, kind of like an IQ test or something to test your IQ and stuff. Now, do they do that? Did they do that in yours or?
No.
No, really.
For me, I mean, in my case, it was really simple. I played intramural soccer, and there was a new supervisor in the field, and he asked me to join his lab. I played soccer with him. That's how I got started. So it does actually help having a little bit of a personal connection too. That's something that I think people don't pay attention to.
Absolutely.
Is that you should actually become pretty familiar with the person that you're going to be spending the next 5 years of your life working for.
Exactly. No, I might spend a couple of years, and hopefully, maybe I'll become a manager someday if that entails. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the person who's doing the overlooking everybody, but you know, I'd like to do that role like that one day, just to see how it is, just to see how I feel about it, you know. And if it doesn't pay, I don't mind. Whatever, it's no big deal. I need experience, and I could probably do it in the mornings or something like that, or go back to part-time or something. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm probably going to do something like that, you know. And I know that, okay, I got a question about their masters though.
Okay.
Now, do you have to take courses during your masters?
Yeah, and it's really different in my field. So in sciences, you tend to do much more research with your master's degree as opposed to coursework. So throughout my entire degree, so that's the PhD included, I've probably taken 6 or 7 classes. So it's not a huge course load.
And they're just lots of just spewing out information, and then you doing a presentation near the end of the semester.
Yeah, so they're all
any writing involved or anything. Lots of that. Or
some of them.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, they all tend to be seminar style courses. So
Okay.
the students are the ones that are actually teaching the course.
Oh, really? Okay. So you're so a guy is getting his PhD or a master's is teaching you, or just
No, a prof.
A prof is there, but he's more of a hey guys, we're doing this next time, and come on with your material and just give us this.
Basically, we meet once a week, and each day of the term, one of the grad students is responsible for presenting the lecture of that class. So it's not the prof really lecturing; they're just there to grade.
That actually sounds pretty cool. You know, it sounds really cool, but pretty intense. You got to do lots of work. You got to do lots of research on there, and I understand that. But see that I'm glad I talked to you today, because honestly, I had no idea what to do when it comes to getting a master's or PhD or anything. I have no idea. And I'm pretty sure there's lots of viewers out there who go, well, I don't know what the heck to do. Maybe it's hard. You know, and obviously it's got to be hard to some extent, but you know, if you enjoy your job and you do less work doing your master's and PhD than you do with that doing your bachelor's or something like that, or probably not, or is the work easier but it's more, and then or when you get your master's and PhD it's harder but it's less work?
I don't want to deter anybody, but I will also say that I have never done more work in my entire life than I did in my graduate degree. It is so much more than undergraduate.
Yeah.
So I mean, routinely, you're working 10 to 12 hours a day. The pay is less than $20,000 a year. At least it was when I was doing it. It might have gone up with inflation a little bit. Yeah. So you don't have time to do other work. You're basically entirely involved. I used to show up because the only time I could use the microscope was at 1 in the morning. So I would come in, drive into SFU, and use a microscope from 1 to about 5 in the morning. It was dark everywhere in the university. I had to use the back door and the secret entrances.
The back cave entrance.
Exactly.
Nice.
No, it's really hard, and I think one of the things that people don't really appreciate when they're sort of at the bachelor's level and they're thinking about graduate schools, I don't think they realize how much of a jump it is. Now, that's not a huge deal if you're really passionate about the material that you're doing your research on, but unless you're passionate, you're going to be totally overwhelmed. It's a huge amount of work with very, very little immediate reward. Mm-hmm. The very act of research, this is beyond a graduate school discussion, doing research is really hit or miss. In fact, it's mostly miss. You can go years without...
You can't find the right materials all of a sudden. You go like, this doesn't help. I read the whole thing. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Turf. grab a nice one. Turf, grab a nice one, something like that.
Yeah, you basically live from basically year to year on the basis of some sort of big discovery surrounded by a bunch of discoveries that were terrible that don't actually help your research at all. So it can actually could become quite a frustrating experience. And like I said, again, if you don't have this inherent passion for the discipline and the research topic that you're working on, you're going to end up being really depressed. The number of people that I know that started smoking because of being in a graduate degree is surprisingly large. And so I would just, certain things that you can do, like I said right at the beginning, if you research the person that you'll be working for and you understand the graduate program and you agree that it's something that you would really like to do, then that's a really good start. But most people, and I say this not just as someone that has done graduate work myself, but as someone who's a prof and actually sees students transitioning into this work, is that most students just go in to graduate school because they have nothing better to do.
Mm-hmm.
They got this bachelor's degree, they don't know how to translate that into employment, and so then they just go to the next academic step.
Which I don't want to do.
No, and most people
shouldn't. I don't want to
shouldn't.
do that, and I shouldn't do that. And I'm going to get a job doing something, but I don't know what it is. I'm going to go to AVA or something like that, or somewhere, and just say, hey, I just want to see what I like best. And even if I get stuck in a job, at least I will get paid a little bit better than perhaps like a retail job or something like that, where you're working as a, burgers or fries or whatever, you know what I mean, right? So, I mean, there's nothing wrong with those jobs. I'm just saying that I definitely want to make a little bit more money, and I think that I deserve that money, but I still got to work for it too, right? So
Absolutely. You can leverage your bachelor's degree to get lots of jobs that you wouldn't normally be able to get. It doesn't mean you have to go into graduate school.
Okay, fair enough. So I got a question now. This is the last bit of it. So you skipped part of your master's to do your PhD. How does that exactly work? Because when you told me that first, I was like, how the heck does that work? I thought of it and I thought, I better talk to Nicholas about that. So how does it work exactly?
It depends on your institution. So I believe SFU and UBC and the departments that I'm involved in let you do this. I don't know about every department at SFU or UBC, but in my particular department, which was biology, you could, after the first year of your master's degree, skip to a PhD, which is what I in fact did. So in my case, I had published a couple papers as a graduate student. So in my first year I published, and apparently that was sufficient to move me up to a PhD.
So like that. So you showed them you did hard work for a year, got something published, worked 20 hours, 12, 10-hour days, and then you're like, okay, like this is what I got. Did you ask? Did you say, hey, can I get, or did they just give it to you and say, hey, it looks like you finished your master's pretty much. Let's go on to your PhD.
I had to apply.
Okay.
But I don't remember it being a very difficult process. If you asked me, I had to think about it before I came here because I knew that was something that we were going to talk about. But if you had to ask me without me having to think about it, I would have just said I was in a PhD from the beginning. It was that easy to go from a master's to a PhD. Yeah. But a lot of that, and I need to emphasize this to people, is that some of that is luck. I mean, I just happened to play soccer with a guy that was doing really well and started publishing papers, and so I got involved in those papers, and that's what enabled me to go and skip my PhD. I'm not sure that everybody gets that opportunity, and it's not really incumbent upon how smart or how hardworking you are in some cases. Sometimes it's just pure luck. And there is a large element of luck to this, You could take 4 people that are equally smart and 3 of them go to a prof that isn't as supportive. And those 3 people are not going to excel in graduate school.
Or one that's too busy,
Yeah.
So that's one thing is that if the teacher's too busy, professor's too busy, it's like, you get no FaceTime. It's like, you're doing it yourself and you need a mentor.
Some people really like having a prof that isn't there to help them.
Yeah.
Some people like to be free. Some people like to be micromanaged.
I don't prefer to be micromanaged, but I prefer a little bit in between. Like they're over to you and they're going, hey, what are you doing now? Oh, yeah, I'm doing this. Yeah, that's good. Or hey, you took a little while long to do this. Like let's see what we can do to ensure that we don't do it. Because I'm a big procrastinator. You know me. Hand in papers like 2 minutes before it's due. Get somebody edited 50 minutes before.
That's usually me.
But I think I'm very enlightened now, and I appreciate having you out today. And thank you so much for coming over,
It's my
Nicholas.
pleasure.
And I'll hope you come back real soon. Thanks, buddy.
No problem.
All right, that's awesome. Hey guys, really hope you enjoyed that interview with Nick Inglis. There's a lot of good stuff in there, and I learned a lot about it. Even though I know Nick for years, he taught me stuff that I didn't even know about. You know what I mean? How you get into getting a master's and PhD and all that kind of stuff, and how to skip part of your master's and go right to your PhD. I think that's a very important thing to do. And to understand, and I hope you enjoyed that, and if you could do some likes or even dislikes. Hey, if you dislike it, hey, I got no problem. Maybe even comment why you don't like it. I mean, it's important at YouTube to get feedback from people listening to you, so a thumb up, thumb down, comments, good comments, bad comments, criticisms, whatever. So hope you guys enjoyed the video, and see you around. Bye.